The ballet opens at the celebration after my wedding to my second husband, Claudius.
Although nobody knows this, he's murdered the previous king a month or so earlier and has now moved in on his wife and is having a wedding, and everything's great until Hamlet arrives.
Well, Hamlet has been away from home and his father passes away. He thought his mother was completely in love with his father, and so for her to so drastically just shift to his uncle in such a short period of time, he's just trying to gather his thoughts around what's happening.
At the wedding, she sees Hamlet for the first time in a long time, and they have a little bit of a meeting, but Polonius and Laertes don't really want her to be involved with Hamlet. They're not sure about him.
My character is a bit apprehensive of Hamlet in the beginning, but nothing too extreme.
Hamlet is visited by the ghost of his father, and his father reveals to him that he was actually murdered by his uncle, and it raises trust issues for him. Who is in on it, who isn't in on it? I view the Shadow Hamlets as maybe aspects of his personality. I think Stephen Mills has taken the soliloquies, if you will, and personified them in three other dancers to enable the audience to see him actually battling with himself.
So then comes the letters scene where Polonius has told you you have to gather up all the love letters Hamlet's ever given you, all of his tokens of affection, and give them back.
He starts to distrust her, and I think ultimately Hamlet's treatment of Ophelia is an outlet for his disgust for his mother.
He's acting strangely, he's being more aggressive, and she's a little frightened with him by the end.
Claudius thinks he's gotten away with it until the players' scene, where Hamlet has arranged a play to resemble very closely the murder that Claudius committed.
I set a trap for Claudius, and as the play continues on, Hamlet, of course, is seeing him as Claudius goes through his confusion and trying to figure out what's going on, and basically kind of outs him at the end of that scene.
And that kind of transfers into where Polonius takes me aside and talks to me. I hear Hamlet coming into the bedroom, so I send Polonius to go hide behind a curtain.
And that's when Gertrude comes in and tries to console Hamlet. She knows something's wrong, but she doesn't know what is wrong.
And he tries to tell me that his father was murdered. And I don't believe him. I don't know what he's talking about.
He ultimately takes a dagger and he kills Polonius by mistake. He thought it was Claudius.
So the next time Ophelia comes out, she is disheveled. She's carrying her deceased father's jacket. She kind of spirals into this mad dream. During the dream scene, there are shadow or ghost Ophelias that are actually separated behind the scrim, and they're dancing with each of the men that have been so important in her life, her father, her brother, and Hamlet.
Act 2 opens at Ophelia's funeral, and I am there and I am losing it.
Claudius sees the opportunity to utilize Laertes' grief and turn it against Hamlet.
And then towards the end of that scene, Hamlet appears, and he didn't know. He wasn't there for Ophelia's death.
He had no idea that Ophelia had died. And so when he comes back, he's in complete shock.
It angers me because I see that Hamlet has done that to her. And she becomes the victim of his insanity and his dilemma.
Hamlet's introspection is one of my favorite scenes. It's because he gets to basically visit his interpretation of each of these people that are important in his life.
Claudius arranges a duel between Laertes and Hamlet. He is going to have a poisoned goblet of wine. For the first person who gets 3 hits, he's sort of assuming that Hamlet might do well.
So at first during the duel, people will think that they're seeing a sporting event.
Until I go to toast my son and hope that he wins the duel.
But after that, Claudius realizes that it's really important to get Hamlet, so he directs Laertes to poison a sword, and outside of the confines of the friendly little tournament, Laertes nicks him on the leg.
And that's the moment where it all turns.
Which, of course, enrages Hamlet, but he doesn't realize he's poisoned yet. He's just angry.
The sport is out. Now it's 2 angry men looking for revenge.
So he ends up killing Laertes.
And that's the moment when I stumble up from my chair, and I'm very ill, and then I look at the goblet, and I realize that is why I'm not feeling well. And then I look at Claudius. That's the moment when everything comes together.
Hamlet is heavily poisoned, and he uses basically his last bit of energy to charge Claudius and gets a dagger and slits his throat. He ultimately crawls to his mother. As his last dying breath, he wants to be with her.